Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, May the 27th, the year of our Lord, 5786. That's right. I do not use Gregory's calendar. Nor Julian. That's Julius, if anybody wanted to know. Nope, don't. I'm just kidding, but... But that's the ones that are out there. Chinese calendars may be a little different. It's not too far off. So.
Yeah, they're all different.
About the same, a little bit. I think the Muslims are on that count. Same thing too. Muslims, Arab nations, Middle Eastern countries. I think they're similar.
I don't know what
respect.
they use.
I think they use the same. I don't think they use they're definitely not using a Christian calendar.
No.
Couldn't see that. The worst part of this, folks, is we're in day 2,112,491 of the crisis of identity. And that, to me, is the worst of everything. For the simple fact that we've been talking about these things and I don't want to say that you minimalize anything, but I think we've gotten so far afield, looking for doctrines, looking for something new to say, looking for a new revelation, and I hear these things. This is some things I've heard a lot in my walk with the Lord over guilty, serious. What am I going to say today? How do I don't know. Talk about Jesus. Well, you just said the same thing. Yeah. So did Jesus. I find it fascinating that how many times have you used your times tables every day over your life? Multiplication, your addition, reading. And nobody thinks about that. We're not, we were looking for new math, though.
Yeah.
We went looking for new math, and everybody's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It's a new revelation. We're like, you have theoretical physicists always sitting around trying to theorize about what something should be because of the physics of it.
Yeah.
Theoretical mathematics. Everybody's theorizing. And what that's about is trying to figure out the meaning of life.
Right.
There have been thousands of years past, Dad. And what have we learned about life? What do we know today more than mankind knew probably, let's just say, in 3500 BC?
Yeah. Well, it came to my mind a movie I saw about the women that first put men in space and brought them back. That's what Glenn was worried about, getting back.
How do I land this sucker?
Right. And it was fascinating to me when I was watching that, true story. The lady that came up with how to get him back, what she said was really fascinating to me. She said, "Oh, it's old math. Old math, not new, not some theoretical thing. Old math." And she figured it out. And Glenn said, "I'll go now."
Because she used an equation that's been around since the ancient Greek times and whatnot.
What's the matter with that? See, We're always out here trying to search for something, out in the D3 somewhere. We don't know where it is, what it is, and what we have, we don't even use.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. That fascinated me.
How do we search for the truth? And I think that's because mankind's been searching for the language, I believe, that defines being. Not simply as we see the world today. I think we look at the race for man-made intelligence. That's what's called AI. It's just artificial means man-made, folks. So I just say, I call it as it is. It's man-made intelligence. So why is this race so important? What are they racing for? What is it? We sit around going, what new revelations are coming today? It's not different. Something revealed. How do we get better? Something else is revealed and revealed and revealed that's going to define existence, that's going to break through. And I've said this for some time. This is just two opposing forces working to overcome the other. Mm-hmm. But the second force has no way to overcome the original.
Well, when you actually think about it, there's nothing new under the sun. Solomon said there's nothing new. Men, we say we found something new. No, it's always been there. You just discovered it.
We're out discovering.
Yeah, you just discovered it. Yeah. America was always here. The Americas, North America, South America, it was all here. And they said we discovered America. It wasn't something just popped up. Wow.
Yeah, how'd they find all those people?
Yeah.
They were here when we got here.
Yeah, they were here.
How about that?
Yeah, where'd they come from? So, some scientist says, oh, wow, man, look at this. It was there all the time. You just discovered it. You just saw what worked, figured it out, how to do it, and did it. Like Tesla with electricity. You ever go out and look at the sky in a storm? It's always been there. And you want to stay away from those big bolts. You don't want one to hit you because it's bad. But then he harnessed that.
Yeah.
And figured out how to produce it,
mm-hmm.
But it was always there and it's always been produced. I mean, what's new? It ain't new.
One of the more fascinating things, too, about Tesla is just the fact of what he wanted. Tesla was not greedy.
No, he wasn't. No, he wanted to make electricity free for everybody.
And could.
And
that's why J.P. Morgan said, I'm out.
Right, we ain't doing this. Ain't no money involved, I'm gone.
So my thought process in saying these things here is, why won't mankind accept the testimony of Jesus? Now, we have the Old Testament and the New Testament. But I'm going to tell you, folks, there's only one testament. There's been only one testimony. It's not old. It's not new. It's just always been. And this is what we have failed to recognize. And Jesus said it one day. They were going to stone him then, and he slipped away. They started picking up rocks. That's what it says. Because his testimony and who he is the truest testament of being.
Yep.
But then he says to them that day, he says, well, before Abraham was, I am. And that right there is the statement of existence that we will not accept. Mankind won't accept it. We haven't accepted it. And even in my estimation with Christianity, they haven't accepted that either, because they changed the person of Jesus into a form that fit their idea of what God is.
Yep.
Using a Greco-Roman style of it, and people go, oh, there we go. Nah, it's just fact. I'm not concerned about what people think about that. It's just the truth of it. Jesus was the second man. And that was in Jehovah's mind. There is no Old Testament. There's only one. Jesus did, or the Lord, when he told Moses, he said, go and take the manna and sit it next to the Old Testimony. Is that what he said? I mean, yeah, I'm sorry. He just said, go sit it next to the testimony. You know what the testimony was? It was that pillar, the cloud, that sat outside the tent of meeting, where the Ark of the Covenant was. It was a representation that Jehovah wanted to dwell with men, and that he had come to share with them his existence and what he created us to be. This is the testament. I want to bear witness to you. He came to the mountain to bear witness to the truth. We wouldn't accept it from the Creator himself. So because of that, he said, all right, I will set this in motion again with another man. And we'll see if he can and will accept this testament of existence, share it, live it, be it, to whatever end it takes him. He can either accept it, whatnot. We're not willing to allow for that testimony, Jesus, to be that witness, to say that he could have went any other direction. In fact, it shows, well, he was tested but God. Well, then if it's Jehovah, how is he going to be? So you're telling me that God can change what? And this is the thought process, because if you look at all the extra curriculars of gods and the stories and whatnot, they're always fighting each other, and this God's upset at this one and this one, and they're fighting. Is this what Jesus was going to do? Well, he emptied himself of all that, Brian, and humbled himself and was a man, and he couldn't, he just had, no, stop. I'm tired of nonsense. Jehovah set life in the woman's egg. And Jesus was born a man. From that moment, he didn't pre-exist. From that moment, he was born. This is the testimony.
Yep.
And he had the opportunity now to take what his father had taught him. And I think Dad is absolutely correct. He's talked about this, that it was Jehovah himself, and I believe ministering messengers that worked with the Lord, keeping and showing and directing. I have seen, I only do what I've seen my father do. And people go, well, see, he was in heaven. No. He was talking about, he lived like 30 years prior to him.
Yeah, because you couldn't be a rabbi or a teacher until you were 30 years old.
Right.
Period. Just couldn't do it. They wouldn't have accepted him. Period.
Culturally.
So he waited according to Jewish custom.
Yeah.
because that's who he was sent to.
Exactly. There were certain things, and probability.
Well, the reason I say that, and you've heard me say this, well, how did Mary know what he could do at the wedding in Cana? Jesus had not yet entered his ministry. He had not done anything. They go to this wedding in Cana, they run out of wine.
Except for hanging out with the Pharisees, the scribes and Pharisees, and going, y'all don't know what you're talking about.
Right, when he was 12. But he comes in there, and Mary says to him, just do what he tells you to do. And Jesus, in modern vernacular, he said, hey, Mom, what's going on? It's not my time yet, Mom. It's not my time. Well, what did she know? And how did she know it?
Right.
Do what he tells you. And we know, the rest of the story. But if she didn't know anything, if he hadn't manifested in some way in front of her, and she hadn't seen the instruction come and so forth, she wouldn't have known. But she knew what he could do.
She had a messenger visitor to tell her in the first place.
Yes.
And then she says, look, I haven't been with a man.
Right.
How can this be?
Right. And when he was growing up, he's a child. She was there with him all the time. Yep. And so were other people. So were other beings there.
This is when Jesus received from his Father those things which he learned and understood. Gone out into the desert, tempted by the adversary. Wait a minute. Why? What for? What's the purpose of that? Have you been, did that happen to you? Well, he was going to be. Jesus went through the same process that the first man went through. I'm convinced of that.
Absolutely.
Did God really say? And that's exactly what the adversary came and said, that, in that short span, we have 3 encounters.
Yeah.
And every encounter, Jesus never wavered from his Father. And in every other instance, and even at the garden in that last moment, because I think it's hard for us. I've never been in that kind of situation. Not really.
No.
Never. I don't know that I've been in a situation where my life was threatened like that. So how do you respond? And people, well, he knew this. Then why did he ask, Father, if there's another way, let this cup pass from me? And the implications of all the things that the Father had set in motion, what was at stake, I'm not going to get into. It's a lot. And maybe we'll do that sometime. But the implications of things and whatnot. But in the end, Jesus, the Father didn't kill his Son. He didn't send him to be slaughtered. That's not what it was. But there was always the possibility that this is what would happen.
Yep.
And the Lord knew it. The Father knew this.
Sure.
And when it came to pass, he wasn't very happy about it, as we saw, as you read. But it was necessary in the nature of the case that this be done. Nevertheless, Father, your will be done, and I will accept this. And it isn't the will of God that any man perish.
No.
It wasn't the will of the Father that Jesus perished.
No.
But it was necessary to finish this work and set in motion the testament, the testimony, so that others could follow. I have a pattern because I have borne witness to the truth. And this is what we don't talk about enough. And Jesus is not dead. Well, he rose from the grave. And we're going to get to this in a minute because this is where I want to go. But I'm setting this in place because I think it's a... But do we really understand the testimony and the witness of these things and how that affects us in our thought process, Dad?
Well, evidently not. At least as far as the general population of the world is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And sad to say, many Christian institutions have no idea either. They still have him on a cross. They still got him all there and everything. And there were two things that happened when Jesus died on that cross. Two things. Israel sealed their fate because judgment was pronounced then. Jesus had prophesied it. He prays He asked the Father. He said, "Forgive them. They don't know what they do. You don't have a clue what you're doing." Jehovah was justified in all that he did because of that act. Second thing Jesus did was he opened the door to salvation. He opened the door to sonship, to being born again, to be new. And that was to all people. Jew, Greek, Gentile. It didn't matter. Didn't matter. Mm-mm. It was everybody. Well, Jesus opened it there, right there, to everyone.
As Paul said, there's neither now Jew nor Greek, free nor slave.
No.
Bond, didn't matter. That wasn't the case.
No, didn't matter. Whosoever will, let him come and drink of the water of life freely. Jesus said that before he passed on that cross. But that third day, he got up. And actually, it was a Saturday evening. I know I'm not going into it right now, but that messes with people's minds. But anyway, they came on Sunday morning to find him, and he's not there. There's a messenger there, and he says, "Why seek ye the living among the dead?" And as we title this today, how come we don't believe that testimony? Why doesn't mankind believe not only that, but his words, what he testified, what he said?
We don't accept him as a person, as a man, just as a being.
Well, yeah, there are many. And I know, most of them have come to the conclusion, well, yeah, he really did live. He was a man. But there are still people who don't even believe he existed.
Yeah.
Don't believe it's even true. Right. Because he's not found in secular history. Well, yes, he is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's... if you... And even most of historians today say there is a man that...
Yes.
The fringes, they'll go, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Yeah. Whatever, dude.
They're almost forced to admit it. Josephus said, there was a man called Christ, if it be lawful to call him a man. And he was a doer of wonderful works.
Yes. And Josephus is widely recognized as probably the top historian of that day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He was with Titus.
Yes.
He was there when the battle took place. Mm-hmm. Josephus was there.
Yeah, that's a gruesome account.
Oh, man.
It's not fun to read.
No, it isn't. It isn't fun to read. It was horrible.
Yeah. So, Dad, we've talked about this a lot. And, we've talked about being a witness.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the other part of this. I've said this on numerous occasions. How can you accept the testimony of a dead man? Well, first and foremost, you can't, because they're dead. There isn't a prosecutor alive. I don't know how many movies I've seen, that, the prosecutor were like, well, there goes our witness. He did. Thanks. You didn't protect him. And the mob boss gets off.
Right.
Because I have no witnesses. So we got to let him go.
You did. You can set that dead guy up in that chair and say, hey, let's swear that guy in.
And this is the other point of this. And this is what I saw. I saw a couple men, one who doesn't believe it, the other one, he's an apologist of some sort. I have never heard of him before. And to me, that doesn't even really matter. Just the conversation and what it's about. And this is what we get caught up in. The one who's atheistic, agnostic, whatever you want to call it, says, we know there's a history, that Jesus, there's a man. We get that, But man, this resurrection thing, what's the probabilities of, a man raising from the dead? And this is where I think he got lost in all the rhetoric of what we normally say about these things. And to me, I looked at the guy and said, what's the probabilities of evolution, bro? And you want to ask me about the probability of a man raising from the dead. When, in the account of Jesus, many people saw a man raised out of the grave by the name of Lazarus. An account told. So it already had happened.
Was a little girl he raised from the dead, too.
Another little girl. All these eyewitnesses to this. And I know people go, well, can we really believe these accounts? These people were there. This is based on eyewitness account, firsthand knowledge. Okay? And these are written down. So you can accept it or not. Where is the firsthand knowledge of evolution? Anybody write it? The comments right there. I think I'm going to wait the rest of the time for somebody to put in there who the firsthand knowledge is from evolution. Somebody tell me where's the firsthand knowledge of evolution.
Yeah.
That's how absurd it is.
Yeah. Well, there was one noted atheist, and he's well known. He wrote books, all kinds of stuff. He came around to believe in Jesus because he read one time where there were over 500 people that witnessed him.
After his resurrection.
And he went into it and looked.
That was Lee Strobel, Dad.
Yes. Yeah. And he said he went and looked and checked all these things out. And he said, what are you going to do?
And here's the thing. That's the book, The Case for Christ. Lee Strobel was a devout atheist. He didn't believe nothing. His wife had came to the Lord.
Right.
And he got tired of listening to her. So he was a lawyer who was also a journalist and wrote for the Chicago Sun-Times. I think it was the Chicago Tribune or Sun-Times. I can't remember which one. As an investigative journalist covering law and cases and things like that. That's what he did.
Right.
And he's like, I'm going to go. She keeps making these claims. I'm going to go see. I'm going to prove her wrong. That's what he set out to do, was prove to her that this is not true. Hello. And in fact, he proved to himself that it was true.
Kind of like a man that I had in my congregation in Sierra Vista, Arizona.
Yes, amen.
Him and his wife would come to every Sunday morning service, every Sunday morning. She'd come by herself on Sunday night and so forth, but he would come with her on Sunday morning. I never knew this. I didn't know anything about him, actually. I knew her some, by talking, a few minutes with her and stuff, but didn't know. And my wife and I were getting ready to go to Australia for a meeting over there. We were going to preach at one of our congregations there in Perth, West Australia. And so he stood up that Sunday morning after I'd finished my sermon, and he had stood up and he said, "May I say something, Pastor?" And I said, "Sure." Well, he told the story, how that the only reason he came with his wife on Sunday morning was to hear what I had to say and then debunk it all and argue with her and try to convince her that it wasn't true. And he did that every Sunday. That's the only reason he came. He was a man who went and gave speeches for companies and stuff. Well educated, intelligent man.
Yes, he was.
And he said, that's the only reason I came, was just so I could, he said, I need to hear both sides so I can argue effectively. And he said, but Pastor, he said, I can't argue with you anymore.
And folks, I was there. He stood up on that Sunday morning, which, odd, because we don't do that as a quorum,
right,
can't do that. We'll wait till after. No, he stood up in the middle of the service, raised his hand and looked at Dad and said, Pastor, I'd like to say something if I could. And everybody was just kind of like, wait, this is what?
Yeah.
What's going on? Right?
Absolutely. And he said, I can't argue with it anymore. He said, I've become a believer. So, can happen? Oh, yeah. When he began to really look at the truth, and he found out he had no more argument. He couldn't argue.
He accepted the testimony.
Yes.
Will we accept the testimony of Jesus that said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no man comes to the Father except through me. And I've come to show you life, and that more abundantly. I've come to show you that I am in my Father and He is in me. And that means that He is. We were created in His image and likeness, just as it says in the Genesis account. We rebelled against that. And the Father and mankind has been opposing this and setting themselves, and this is what man-made intelligence is about, overcoming this ideology. We're our own. We can do it ourselves. The knowledge of good and evil.
Right.
That's what this is.
Function and dysfunction.
We're not here to sell you something. We're not here to invite you to go to church. We're not here to tell you you've got to do this and you've got to do that and this is the way, and you got to join this organization. You got to go to church. You can't go to yourself. Doesn't happen. What you need to do is accept the testimony of Jesus, who was anointed by the Father in His image and likeness, and He shared that image and likeness. He shared that testimony with everyone around Him, and instead of accepting it, they destroyed Him. They thought they did. But the Father won't allow the righteous to be destroyed by the wicked or with the wicked.
No.
And He said, go and get him. And those messengers that were sitting there that day, why are you looking for the dead among the living? Or the living among the dead. I got it backwards.
Right.
Why are you looking? I'm not looking for an answer among the dead. I'm looking for an answer among the living. We call this life. I don't think there's any life in the world at all, folks. There isn't. There's only one testament and one testimony that defines us in being Well, the probability of Jesus, right? You don't seem to be concerned about that when you start talking about evolution.
No. That we just appeared out of some mud somewhere. Well, but it was it was a little bitty creature, just this, and it evolved and evolved. There's no record in history, and they've looked. Friends, they've looked and looked and looked and looked. There's no record of any kind of organism, animal, nothing that has ever morphed into something else. Well, butterflies, no. There's a larva, and then the larva goes into a cocoon, and it becomes a butterfly. It was always a butterfly.
It's just the different stages of its life.
Just the different stages of its birth.
Yeah.
It's always a butterfly.
To your point, Dad, this is an article, and Drew, I want you to put these in these. You got him. He's got him. There's all. Go ahead, Pop.
Well, just your mom put on there, and I forgot to say this, but yeah, he wanted to let us know that he was a believer before we left for Australia.
Yes.
For some reason, that was important to him.
Well, but it was important because
was.
it changed him dramatically.
Yeah, he wanted me to know.
And that's true repentance right there, folks.
Mm-hmm.
This is an article, and I put there's two from each side here, but at the end of this one particular article that I was reading concerning the probabilities, this man closes this article saying, "I will close with a quote from Freeman Dyson, a theoretical, remember, theoretical, that means it's theory, it's not proven, physicist at Princeton University, who also enjoys thinking about the origin of life. You had what I call the garbage bag model." Oh, goody. Let's start with garbage. "The early cells were just little bags of some kind of cell membrane, which might have been oily or it might have been a metal oxide. And inside you had a more or less random collection of organic molecules. With the characteristic that small molecules could diffuse in through the membrane, but the big molecules could not diffuse out. By converting small molecules into big molecules, you could concentrate the organic contents on the inside. So the cells would become more concentrated and the chemistry would gradually become more efficient." So these things could evolve without any kind of replication. It's a simple statistical inheritance. When a cell became so big that it got cut in half or shaken in half by some rainstorm or environmental disturbance, it would then produce two cells, which would be its daughters, which would inherit, more or less, but only statistically, the chemical machinery inside. Evolution could work under those conditions. Well, where do the cells come from? I'm just like, because it starts off with, the world really does show, design and understanding. And yeah, no kidding. This is pretty impressive piece of machinery here.
Yeah. Heart, lungs, liver, organs, blood, that we still don't know what it is. If they can figure all this out, why haven't they figured it out?
Why won't, and so then there's other people. Okay, and let's do this real quick, Dad. There are other ideas of gods and things and creation in that respect. And people go, well, see, it's just their idea of who God is. All right. Okay. Then let's think about that. When we look at creation, if you're going to think about creation, and this is, I thought about this, and this is why, and you've probably heard me say this if you've listened to us for very long. And I want to say this, and I know we've discussed these things. And I think it was important. I've read I think it's the Erudi is how it's pronounced. Could be wrong, but something like that. Genesis, which is the Sumerian. It's, they say, the oldest living record of creation that we have. It's about a flood story and the creation of things and whatnot. Okay. Yeah, the Enuma Elish, Babylonian, Gilgamesh epic. You have the North American. You have the Vedas from India. There are Japanese myths of creation.
American Indian.
Yeah, that's what the Americas. You have 3 or 4 different creation stories.
Absolutely.
And I find that fascinating. And that was something that really struck me, because I thought, well, you know what? What do they say? Other than the fact that all of them say there was a flood.
Yeah. Yeah, they all say it.
That's the one common thing. The rest of it, as far as how mankind ended up here, is very erratic.
Oh, yeah.
And that, to me, was the key to this. Because there is one unequivocal difference in the Genesis narrative compared to all these others, is the definition of being, of life, and of existence.
Right.
I have read that we were created from vomit, sweat from thighs,
Yeah.
out of broken eggshells. And I'm thinking to myself, then what defines existence? If creation, and this is the other thing, and this is the same thing with evolution, and I think that's the difference. You have the testimony, Jesus defines being. Everything else over here never defines being, Dad.
No, it doesn't. Doesn't describe anything, doesn't talk about anything. It's just all leave it to you to try to figure it out or understand it. But the Scripture doesn't leave it to you to figure out or understand it. It tells you plainly. Jesus said that. He said, I've shown you plainly the Father. Ain't nothing hidden here.
Mm-mm.
Well, it's a mystery. No, it's not a mystery. Paul said there were mysteries, but they're now revealed.
Yep.
They're now revealed. Everything was revealed in Jesus. Everything. We understand, when Brian was talking about the Old and New Testament, it's just one testament that continues. And when Jesus came, he actually gave understanding and completeness and wholeness to what had been said before. He brought it back into order, as Pam and I were talking about yesterday morning. Mm-hmm. Order. He brought it back into order. This is what you need to understand. Yeah. This is what happened. And here's all the stages of it until I had to come. The Father had to create me.
And useless stages in a lot of respects because of rebellion.
Yes, and that's what it was. They rebelled.
Why are you such a stiff-necked bunch?
It's just rebellion. We're going to have our idols, and you too. We'll mix it all, and it'll be okay. No more.
Just accept. Are we willing to accept it? You heard the words here. Go read for yourself. Go talk. Go ask Jesus. I'm not challenging you to go to church anywhere. I'm not challenging you to go find a preacher. You know what I'm challenging you to do? Go ask Jesus. That's what you need to do. Ask Jesus. We've said it. Are you willing to go and look? Are you willing to hear? Are you willing to look at the testimony itself and begin to talk openly to the Lord? How am I supposed to do that? Just talk. That's what I do. I guarantee you, he will answer you. If you are sincerely looking, Jesus is there. Seek and you shall find. Knock and I'll open it.
Yep.
All of these things is what Jesus said. Look, if whoever will, let him come and drink freely. Well, come where? To Jesus. That's what I do every day. I come to see the King. And through my brother who sits at the right hand of the Father, who is Lord at this point over the heritage. And he's earned that right because of what he did, what he suffered, and what he presented. He is a living testimony to the image and likeness of the Father and what mankind was created to be. Go and seek him. That's what we need to do. It is about Jesus. That's why we say that.
Yep.
Give love, give life, give Jesus. I want to be a testimony to those things. And I hope that if you've seen me, you've seen Jesus. And that's the goal. And that's what I want to present to you. Come. Go seek him. Come and ask questions. Talk. Share. Be part of the group. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in his name, he's there in the midst. Do that. Set your mind to those things. Bear witness of the truth. This is what we need to accept. And if we don't, we're simply children of wrath, like everybody else. Probability, I think we need to stop listening to how do I put it? Vain philosophy.
Yep.
That's just empty and doesn't take you anywhere.
Nope.
Hope this makes you think about things. That's our goal. And we'll be back next week. Please tune in. Same place, same time. We'll be here. We'll be talking about these types of things. Hope you enjoy it. Is there anything else there, Dan?
No.
No.
Just some what you were saying a while ago. And your mom put on good grief. About that guy.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, what else are you going to say? I'd looked at him right in his face and said, "That's brilliant. Boy, you smart, boy."
You know, avoid people who
vain babblings.
I'm sure he's an intelligent man.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with it.
No. It's just
But
where his intelligence is taking him.
But it takes us off course, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
Well, they refuse. They refuse to accept Jesus' testimony and the testimony that he is. They refuse. So you have to look for they've got to look for some other reason. And they've desperately tried to find some other story that would fit existence
yeah.
to satisfy their minds. But the one thing that they still can't do is in all of their struggle to do that, tell me about eternity.
Mm-hmm.
Because all your stories lead to nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, why? Why are you even here? Why do you work? Why do you do anything? Why?
Nihilism.
Paul said, if Jesus isn't risen from the dead, then let's eat, drink, and be merry. Let's have a big party because tomorrow we die. The other day, Ted Turner passed away a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Millionaire.
Yeah.
Rich man.
Very, very wealthy.
He's dead. So
What did it profit him
what did it profit
to
him?
gain the whole world?
Now, whether he believed, I don't know. But I doubt it from listening to the man and so forth. But he's gone. So Solomon said it. He even said it. He said, I've got all this, and I'm going to leave it to somebody else to squander. He didn't say it exactly like that, but it's what he meant. So what's it matter?
Because in the end, and this, and to Dad's point, and this is the other part of this with the evolution or with man-made intelligence. This is where we've gotten to. We are going to overcome death.
Yeah.
That's the point. That was the point of the knowledge of good and evil. It's the search for knowledge that overcomes the parameter of death or the sentence of death that was adjudicated to man. Even though the Father suspended the sentence in hope, in expectation that he would recognize his mistake,
Right.
and repent of it. And we have continually let him down. That's why I don't want to let my Father down anymore. I don't want to let him down. He's my dad. So how much more our Father in heaven? And that's what Jesus said. Why do we think of that about these things? Do you think your Father would, if you ask for bread, would he give you a stone? What do we think about these things? But yet this is the mindset. Testimony. What is it? And we got to get that straight first, I think, Dad.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Have a great day in the Lord. Always remember to give love.
Give life.
And give Jesus.